to Performance Wellness Training. Today we are going to go a little bit deeper into the process of essential musical intelligence as a way of transforming deep-rooted blocks to performance mastery. As you know, and as you've seen in some of the other presentations, music has an alchemical property that can transform darkness into light, pain into joy, a myriad of other kinds of issues in life through its, what I call intelligence. There's intelligence not only in music, but in the creative process of creating music. And we're going to use that creative process today to look at some of the polarities that performers grapple with in their lives that often keep them holding back from really giving their all within the performance environment. So I just wanted to take a moment to have you out there think about what are some of the struggles that you grapple with in your life that are unique to performers. And I'll just give you a few of the ones that are very common in my workshops. One is the issue of fear versus confidence. All of us want to believe that it's not good to be afraid. If I'm fearful, there's something wrong with me. And I want to be confident. The fact is, fear and confidence are a dance that work together to really motivate us to do our best, right? Another polarity might be success and failure. I once met a man at a party, it was a book signing, and he had written a book on failure and how important it is for success. And I thought, what do you mean? How could failure be important for success? That's terrible. We just want to avoid it at all costs. And he said, all of the famous inventors and famous performers and business people throughout time have failed numerous times. And through their failure, they got more and more and more power to the point where they were just fearless and just really, really very successful. So these are just some of the polarities that we all grapple with. We can't really have one dynamic without experiencing the other. So just take a moment to think about in your own lives, is there some area that is difficult for you right now? And in your manual, there will be a list of 100 different polarities. So don't feel like, well, I don't know what it is. Go through your list and see which one jumps out at you. And of course, you have all gone through the list. Do any of you have a polarity that's really very present in your life right now that you want to work on? You do.
I do, definitely. Anxiety.
Okay.
And I really need to find a balance or find something between anxiety and calm.
Okay, right. So somehow you're really heavy on the anxiety end of that polarity.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think of calm, what comes to your mind?
Relaxed, untense. When I'm anxious, I feel myself tensing up, and it's just a downward spiral, for lack of a better word. My body tenses, my jaw clenches, thoughts start rushing. So basically the opposite of all of that would be calm for me.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you relate to this?
Oh, yes.
Nice to know I'm not alone.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think that's one of the biggest issues that we share in the performance community. So yeah, let's give that a try. And just going back to my theory of the kind of yin and yang of emotion, that when we're performing, to be totally calm, to be in that polarity, might not make for the best performance, right? I mean, there needs to be a little bit of an edge when we're sharing our work, a little bit of excitement, which the calm person, the person who's stuck in that polarity, would be kind of dull, perhaps. So the way this exercise works is I'm going to ask you to improvise each of those extremes on one of these instruments. And then you're going to actually have a dialogue between those two extremes and see what energy emerges out of the blending of the two. So right now, the first step would be to tell me which polarity you feel most identified with, and I'm guessing it's the anxiety.
It is.
Okay. So look at the instruments. See if there is an instrument that can hold and express that dynamic of anxiety.
I think any of them could. I'm not sure. They're this or the guitar.
Okay.
Maybe this. Yeah.
Yeah, so really get into the memory of anxiety for you and use the instrument as a way of exploring that. Just really go to the peak of the polarity.
Okay.
So I don't know about you guys, but I am feeling really uncomfortable.
Wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My hands are sweaty. My heart kind of started to race. So you can imagine what your audience feels if you're up there performing and you're very anxious.
They're getting it.
Get it on some subtle level. Okay. Now I want you to clear yourself of that as if you've never ever had that feeling before. And I want you to choose an instrument that expresses the energy of the opposite of this calmness, calm state. Okay?
Yeah. You know what? I think I'm going to stick with this.
All right. That sounds, well, actually, we're going to need two instruments, though, because you're going to have a dialogue with one of the other people here in our room.
Then the guitar.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. I'll take that from you. I will relieve you of your anxiety for a minute.
I don't play guitar.
Calmness. yourself of that, and you're going to that other side of yourself, that other
Mm-hmm.
extreme. So I think you're most identified with your anxiety. So I'm going to ask you to go back to that instrument.
Okay.
And which one of you would like to play the opposite polarity?
Well, I don't play the guitar either.
Excuse me.
The neti pot.
I'll do. Would you like to do it? Sure. Wonderful. Okay. So I am going to move my chair out of the way, and you two would like to face each other. The way the exercise works is you're going to start out at your respective polarities.
Okay.
You as the calm, peaceful presence, and you as the anxious person. And you're going to play together, and eventually something is going to happen in the music. There is going to be a shift in the dynamic. I don't know how that's going to happen, and I want you to really watch very carefully to see when that shift happens. And then something is going to, the music is going to change. And we'll see what happens. And just let the music stop when it's ready to stop. So I'm going to ask you, Joe, to share what do you think was happening here between these two extremes, and how did they move towards each other?
Well, it's obviously the stick, really does sound like chaos. And for me, especially when she moved it like this, it started to sound like the train. Which, riding in the subway as a New Yorker, anxiety. And it's almost as if the guitar helped to alleviate that, where she started to feel more calm, and it went from sounding like train to a babbling brook, which is very soothing. So it's a very unique quality of the instrument, that it can go from sounding like chaos, not knowing how it's going to sound, where the last chip is going to fall, to sounding something very natural and very serene. And I think it's like it fed from the guitar, because the strumming was very, very slow, very rhythmic. It's like, come join me,
Mm-hmm.
be with me. And it went from like, okay,
Yes.
from the train to a babbling brook, and it's wonderful.
I agree. Yeah. Well, let's get some feedback from both of you. What was it like for you, Claire? Something shifted in you, definitely.
Well, I initially started out trying to, really play this guitar, but it's sort of a toy and not really as playable as a good instrument would be.
Right,
So I
exactly.
had to let go of that because that wasn't serving what we were doing. So just to do things like this was I realized that was much more relaxing. And as soon as I let go of trying to actually make musical sound, it was just much more relaxing.
I also saw you trying to mirror her at one point. I think that's when the initial shift happened, that you went from being, I'm so calm, to being like, well, maybe I can check you out a little bit. Did you feel that?
I really did.
So
I definitely did.
How did it work for you?
Well, at first it felt like, and like I was fighting against it, and I was really fighting against it, and then at some point I realized, okay, it's there, and I can either keep fighting against it and still hear it and still know it's there, or incorporate it into my world.
Oof. That's powerful. It's there, which is absolutely true of all polarities. There is never one side of the yin and no yang. There's always, there's love, there's hate, there's confidence, there's fear, there's abundance, there's lack. And that is the dance of life that we're constantly flowing through. If you flow, if you get jammed up, that's where these kinds of life issues can block your forward movement. And so by you recognizing, hey, calm is there, and why am I fighting it? It's okay to kind of let it come into my life. And then I can be
calm, but not, I can be both, actually. I don't have to be incredibly anxious, and I don't have to be asleep. I can definitely, at the end I just found a medium. Like, I picked this because it sounded like rain, and at first it was a thunderstorm, and then it went to raindrops on my window, which is very calming for me. And so the rain was, again, still there, but it was a different type of rain.
That's so great. And you can see this exercise it's so metaphorical, but at the same time, how do you both feel right now?
Very kind of engaged with everything that's gone on.
Yeah.
There's something about creativity that really does create wholeness within us. And that's really the purpose of this exercise, is to try to unite disparate parts of yourself so that you're really coming from that really engaged center. So I hope that you will try this exercise, find a partner, and get your instruments together. By now, I'm hoping you have a little array of improvisational instruments, and give this a try. It's really quite profound. And again, we will share, we'd like to know what your experience was like during our online share. So thank you very much for sharing your transformation with us, and we will see you next time.